Hi guys, it's Melissa from Special Ed Law Mom, and I'm back with another video. This one is a really big topic, and so I'm just going to break it up because I'm going to have things to share in other videos and whatnot. But today is all about transition. And if you have a high schooler, you should have heard that phrase by now, and you should be talking about what's going to happen at graduation with that high schooler. So I am just going to refer to the Code of Federal Regulations that's listed in this book, Special Education Law by Pete Wright. It's available on Amazon. I will have a link for it down below, as well as some of his other books. I highly recommend them. Well worth the investment. So this is found at 34 CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations, 300.43. And this is about transition services, and I'm just going to read to you a snippet of what it says. So it says transition services means a coordinated set of activities for a child with a disability that is designed to be a results-oriented process that is focused on improving the academic, that's number one, and functional, number two, achievement of the child um, with the disability to facilitate movement from school to post-school activities, including post-secondary education, again, number one, vocational education, employment, including supported employment, continuing and adult education, so lots of education pieces, adult services, my favorite, independent living, or community participation. And it says it's based on the individual child's needs, taking into account their strengths, preferences, and interests. And it includes instruction, specially designed instruction, related services, community experiences, the development of employment or other post-school and adult living objectives, and if appropriate, listen for it, acquisition of daily living skills and provision of a functional vocational evaluation. So basically, you've got a kid that's going to graduate high school. What's going to happen to them? There are programs for kids that go from age 18 to 22, but depending on your state and your school system and the program that's in place, that may or may not be a good fit for them, or your district may say they don't qualify because they're too high functioning. And at the end of the day, the schools have gotten away from doing a lot of the fine arts things and those kinds of things, as well as the living skills items. I mean, in our state, there's a financial literacy class that's required, but if you don't follow along or do well with that curriculum, oh well, and you don't even take that till your junior year. And so I think that some of this should apply to all kids, but that's a whole nother subject. But it is in place for kids that have IEPs. And so you should be talking with your school system about it. They have to, at a minimum, start talking about it. I believe it's at age 16. When they turn 16, they have to have a transition plan in their IEP that talks about goals for post high school, talks about how they might graduate from high school. Sometimes they can graduate with a certain kind of diploma that allows them to be eligible for those post secondary special ed services. But sadly, the law has established that if you academically can gain the credits that you need to graduate, and you graduate with a regular diploma, you don't need any of this help after, which I think is garbage, and which I now have had some enlightenment with, which I will talk about in other videos. Um, but you should be talking about this from freshman year and focusing on what your child needs. So, just to give you a couple of examples, this is we rush, and we learn all these things when the kids are little. We learn about prior written notice, we learn about IEPs, we learn about related services, and all FAPE, and all these things. And there isn't a big emphasis on transition. And as I've been studying more about it, I'm learning that there's a tsunami that hits the schools the senior year for most kids because parents, excuse me, say, "Holy crap, what's going to happen?" And as we have seen, there's a rush to all of a sudden teach these kids everything that they should have been teaching them for 4 years in 4 weeks, 2 months, that kind of thing. Usually, second semester of senior year, and I'm hearing that that's not rare. And um, it's just a mess. And in our scenario, I'll share this with you now. In our scenario, we were specifically told, and I have the meeting minutes. Um, when this dialogue happened, it was COVID, and we were doing an online learning program with a neighboring district. And we were specifically told by the special ed director there that the schools don't provide transition services. All that they do is document it in the IEP that the student has a need, and then they connect the family with community resources so the family can coordinate all those transition needs and take care of that for their student. Now, that could be a he said, she said scenario, except they put it in the meeting minutes that they provided us. So I have the documentation from them citing their own special ed director. So I'm sitting there sophomore year during COVID, hearing that they don't have to provide anything. And so we go to the junior year IEP, and the same language stays in the IEP that my student has these needs, but nothing's offered. And in the meantime, dad and I are raising the red flag saying, "We need life skills help. What classes do you have?" And we've got email after email after email asking. And we're told, just take home ec, just take cooking. Just, here's a checklist that you can work with your kid on at home and have a good day. And it wasn't until, of course, for us, sadly, senior year, that a provider that we use mentioned that's not the case. And we had to start raising the red flag even higher and learning and all of this. And that shouldn't be happening. Senior year, we're supposed to have a great year, we're supposed to have a fun year. Um, and so we're I'm not prepared to talk about where that has gone and the twists and turns on that at this point. But I just wanted to let you know that yes, the schools are supposed to provide. Supposed to be a coordinated set of activities that is a results oriented process. And no, it's not just based on employment or education, but it can be based on independent living skills. And so that's things like budgeting, using public transportation, cooking, cleaning, running a household, being able to fill out forms, community safety, home maintenance, all sorts of things. So just make sure that if you have a kid approaching high school or in high school, that you know about this and that you start the conversation early. And one other thing I'll tell you, I did not learn until recently. I know that there's different levels of kids and they categorize them different ways in different parts of the country. But basically, there's the regular ed kids, there's the regular ed kids that need some support, and then there's kids that they have in specific accommodated classrooms. And you'll hear a lot that the regular ed kid can't visit the accommodated classroom, or the accommodated kid can't visit the regular ed classroom. They kind of have to stay in their own lane. I've since learned that is not true, especially the regular ed going to the accommodated for something such as life skills. And they have life skills classes for those kids because a lot of those kids are going to go into that 18 to 22 program. And so they have the life skills classes for them to try to minimize how many kids will go into that program. And your regular ed or regular ed with special ed support can float to those classes in high school for what they need. It's not illegal. It's not a change of placement, none of that. So I hope that that's helpful. If you have any questions, trust me, I'm learning as we go, but I've learned a lot, and leave them down below for me. And until next time, make it a great day. Thanks. Bye.